Hello and welcome to the Fastest 50 podcast. I'm Alistair McDonald and I'm joined today with my co-host Jamie Gamble. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi, Jamie.
Good to be here.
Thanks. So together we're delighted to be welcoming our guest Tom Lawson, who's the Chief Executive of Opencast. Opencast is one of the fastest growing technology consultancies, and since taking the helm in 2020, Tom has led Opencast through an unprecedented period of growth, scaling the business from a team of 80 based in the Northeast to over 500 people working across the UK, with clients ranging from central government to healthcare and to purpose-driven private sector businesses. Under Tom's leadership, Opencast has grown in revenue from 6 million to over 50 million turnover and picked up multiple awards in the process, including ranking third in our Fastest 50. Featuring also in Newsweek's Most Loved Workplaces and gaining B Corp certification in 2024. With years of experience in leading complex tech and business transformation programs, Tom brings a passion for purpose-driven growth, client impact, and building high-performing teams. He's also a Harvard Business School alumni, a former Prince's Trust mentor. He was born and raised in Yorkshire, graduated from Durham University, and is now settled in the Northeast. Tom, thank you very much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. It's really it's good to have you here. So, if you don't mind, what I'd like to do is rewind to the start. So, what first brought you into the world of tech and business, and how did that path lead you to becoming the chief exec of Opencast?
Right. Okay. History lesson. So, I've always probably been interested in tech, and I'm probably of that generation who we started as outside, the digital world and the tech world. We've kind of grown up with that. I didn't actually study sort of computer science initially, so I didn't pursue that through school. But when I came to university in Durham, I studied undergraduate in geography. But when I got to the end of that, I knew by that point that I wanted to pursue a career in the tech sector, and I actually stayed and did an MSc in, in fact, it was a kind of a computer science conversion masters early, and it was in the kind of .com boom, so it's called Internet Systems and E-Business. So I did that for a year, and then started as a graduate with BT Syntegra, which was their consulting and systems integration arm. Did 6 years there, and then moved to global consulting firm Capgemini, where I spent nearly 10 years. Thankfully, both of these based out of the Northeast. So having studied at Durham, managed to stay in the region. And then, about 7 years ago, met the co-founders of Opencast, Charlie Holt, Mike O'Brien. And they were at a point where they were looking to scale the business, grow that, and after numerous kind of conversations about that, brought me in to work with them on developing the strategy for growth, and then 10 months later appointed me chief executive to then lead that over the last 5 years.
We've had other tech businesses, numerous of them on the Fastest 50, and we've had Leighton Group on the podcast as well. Like, I think if you're outside of the north or the northeast, you might not necessarily perceive this to be a place that tech businesses particularly can do well. What do you think about the north and the northeast in particular makes this a good place for Opencast to be based?
Yeah, it's an interesting perception, I think, that there isn't sort of the thriving tech scene here that there actually is. So there's a lot of key employers that have played a role in that, really. So you've got HMRC and DWP, both for a long time have had their sort of technical departments have been based up here. You've then got companies like Sage, you've got Accenture, who have built their UK delivery centre here and employ probably about 1,500 people in the region, training lots of graduates in the process. BT, where I was at, even Capgemini, I've got present. There's numerous tech firms, and then also tech-related jobs. So the kind of ecosystem is probably stronger than it might appear on the surface, or certainly if you're not close to it. And I think there's been a lot done over the last decade to probably shine more of a light on that. Things like Dynamo Northeast that brought together a lot of those firms. And then the kind of ecosystem really as well of the universities. So you've got 5 brilliant universities that have fantastic computer science departments and other relevant skills that are being kind of churned out of those. So The region, it does have some really key ingredients, I think, for a tech cluster, particularly from that talent development perspective. I mean, what's also talked about, I don't kind of want to necessarily repeat ad nauseum, but obviously the quality of life's really good, the cost of living's lower. You've got the city, the coast, there's some great factors which can contribute to that. But if you're really focusing on what's going on under the surface, there is a tech talent ecosystem here. I've not even talked about gaming, actually. I mean, that's another sector with
A lot of that stems out of Middlesbrough and Teesside
yeah,
University, doesn't it?
and you've got you've got a lot going on, and there are lots of tech talent and skills in the region, which is I think has helped it to thrive over a long period of time. Really, this isn't a new thing.
I think the quality of life point's a really good one because people with those tech skills are really sought after, and they can go basically wherever they want. So if you're competing on that front, to be able to go surfing or go up to Edinburgh an hour and a half and all that kind of stuff, it really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Do you think we need to shout out a bit more in the region then about how strong we are in it? And I'm assuming that whilst the wider population might not quite realise how strong we are, does the sort of the people in the sector who are looking for the jobs, do they appreciate that the North East is a really great place to come and there's lots of opportunities?
I think there is more that could be done on that. I mean, even there was the recent sort of government digital skills report, which seemed to omit most of the North. Even Leeds wasn't properly covered in it, which is, again, so there is something getting lost in translation. Yeah, there's obviously more still to do, but I think we are getting cut through. I mean, there's a recent company who sort of sprung up in the region, Neptune North. So they're a collaboration between Oliver Wyman and Rokos Capital. They're bringing in really really sort of educated people from all over the country and bringing them to the North East. So not just from the universities here. So it can be done. I think there's got to be a commitment from firms in the sector to go and make that happen and make that noise and create that momentum. But yeah, the ingredients are there to do it, and I think everyone's got their part to play in that. And we see ourselves very much in that as well. We want to be a standard bearer for what firms can do in the North East, and we're very proudly headquartered here, even though we've become a national firm.
That kind of leads quite well on to the next question. So we talked in the intro about the fact that you've gone from a relatively low number of employees to up to 500.
Yeah.
You've gone from 6 million turnover to 50 million. What do you think's led to that really, really rapid growth in turnover and headcount?
I mean, look, the big ingredients of Opencast, before I was here, I was incredibly fortunate, and it's part of what attracted me to the company, to inherit a really strong culture and quality of what the organisation was doing. Even at 80 people, it was attractive to people to come and join, and it was doing work and competing and or partnering with some of the big global firms, including Capgemini. What we have been really focused on over that period is, one, really making sure we put people and the people experience right at the heart of that. I think a lot of technology consulting firms sometimes lose sight of that. They lose sight of the fact that the people are the product, and how those people show up in a client environment is the thing that will differentiate you. Because are we good at what we do? Absolutely, you have to be. If you get all that wrong, there are serious consequences. We work in on big important systems that affect citizens across the UK. So the quality has got to be there. But what's going to differentiate you is how do those people show up and work with the client, work with other partners to make that happen. So we put looking after our people and helping them to show up in that best way possible right at the heart of the journey. So there's a huge amount of investment, probably compared to other competitor firms, and we're always striving to improve that. We don't always get it right. There's sometimes that you can get those things wrong, but we aim to listen, we aim to learn, and we aim to then respond and change what we do, because we see that as central to the journey. Purpose, I think, then is the big kind of second factor in that we've, again, so we've gone on a journey to become a B Corp, which we've used as a way of really externally validating who we are in that regard. So are we meeting all of those good governance standards, good environmental standards, ethical standards, again, people, how we look after our people, etc. So yeah, so that kind of purpose-driven element to it, again, I think has been a huge factor. And more actually over that period, we've become ever more deliberate and more selective, I suppose, in making sure that the work that we do reflects that. So, we see working with government as a big way of doing that. You can have positive impact on millions of people through that work. Likewise in healthcare, we can do the same. And then there are a lot of really fantastic private sector organisations. They don't have to be B Corps, but that's one avenue you can go down. But orgs who are trying to make a difference and do things in the right way. And it's organisations where we can see a real line of sight to positive impact. And then that's aligning really nicely with how the type of work our people want to do, and creates a really kind of positive experience overall. And then, the third is you can do both of those things, but you run the business with really good sound fundamentals and make money and create value. We don't see these as conflicting priorities. It can create more of a flywheel effect by get your people experience right, go and make an impact in the world. Guess what? If you're doing that really well, you're going to make money at the end of it. And what we've done is linked that back into that whole people experience, because everyone in the company gets a level of share options, and so everyone is enfranchised to help grow the business, and then at points in the future will benefit from the rewards of that, from equity growth. So we want to show that as a whole is a business model that can be really successful, and I think others do elements of that. We're trying to stitch those elements together and prove that that's the way to create a really successful business. And so far we've done well. We've had the market has been very tough for the last couple of years, but we've been resolute in sticking to those principles, and we will continue to do so.
Are there things that you weren't doing before the growth? Or is that something that you've sort of perfected and then you've seen the growth? Or because it does seem like there was a big spike.
I can almost see when that change happened. It was a great business before, and I worked with Charlie and Mike right from the beginning, but you could see that point at which it was, if we're going to really grow into this business we want to be, we need to put people front and center. And you've done so many great things on that, which I've sort of worked with you on. It's been fantastic to see, and I'm assuming you wouldn't have been able to get the number of people because you've had to grow so rapidly. I mean, I don't think you probably could have done that without having put those things in place as well.
Look, I think anyone you listen to on talking about business will talk. There's good decisions and there's luck, and you need both. I'm a firm believer in that. Some of those decisions, are things that existed but have been made more deliberate, more codified, more repeatable, executed better. That can hopefully then change the course. The luck element is that coincided with a period where the market heated up. Right. And so we rode that wave, and have been able to ride a wave of both the market demand going up, but I think equally the expectations of the consultants and the people who might come and work for us aligned really nicely with, they wanted to be part of a business that offered those sorts of things: genuine care for its people, a sense of purpose and direction, and deeper meaning to the work. You then have to keep that true as you scale. And scaling that at pace whilst keeping all of that true is hard. It's because mistakes can be made. There's missteps in that. There's mishires. There's people that may join you who don't enhance and amplify that culture, and that's sort of the challenge. That's the challenge day to day, is how do you keep it all in balance and keep that all moving forward. And that is where hiring a great team, building that and building the organizational structure at all levels to support that is that again is part of the challenge, and how you keep that momentum. So it is it's about the founders retaining a really strong vision for the company, if you like, and being willing to stick with that as you go on a journey, and then through some economic ups and downs, and then it's having a team of people who are aligned around that and motivated to go and do that.
I think that nicely leads on to the next sort of topic we wanted to touch on, because you started to talk there about sort of some of the challenges, and so growing at pace isn't easy. It does have its challenges. What's been the hardest part about growing and scaling so rapidly?
I think there's a really interesting part to that journey, which is what all the people in the business have to do in parallel. So use me as an example. I've never been a chief exec before, so I've been learning to become a chief exec as we've gone through this journey. But that's not against a static environment. So I'm not learning to be the chief exec of a 100-person company and we're just going to stay at that level. Every year, I'm the chief exec of a bigger company. And that's true at all levels of the org. All our brilliant leaders in the business are all having to grow at pace, even to sort of stand still. And then, if you like, we're trying to grow the business aggressively. So it's that I think is one of the biggest challenges. Everyone has to be reflecting on their own capabilities and leading themselves, if you like, through development and improvement to be able to lead the business successfully. And we're really lucky to have some fantastic people, both people who've been here for part of the journey and have now moved on, and also the people that we've got currently who, their commitment to that's incredible, and the sort of passion to learn, to develop, and then to put that into practice in what we're doing. So I think that is one of the most powerful ingredients that we've got to keep. It's hard because it's, you are always stretching, the business is stretching, you've got to be personally stretching, but it's exciting and it's an amazing opportunity for all of us who are involved in it to see where that can take us in terms of our careers, I think.
Exciting.
Yeah, well, the challenges are just changing all the time as you grow
Yeah.
bigger. There's just different things
I
to do.
I said to you in the lobby, I feel like I've come back into almost a different business this year because we've had some really strong growth at the end of last year, and even again, we've had another step up in scale as we've come into this year, which we're only now really feeling, as those people on board and get to work across our clients. So it's always changing, and then you're always dealing with a changing market context at the same time. So yes, lots to wrap your head around and to get stuck into.
I'm interested in exploring some challenges that might be common challenges that maybe other businesses could learn from in terms of your experience. So what are some of the common challenges that can trip up businesses when scaling, which you've had to face head on?
A big one that we get asked a lot about internally. So we have lots of ways that we try and get feedback and questions from our team, and the culture question comes up a lot, and particularly in relation to scaling. So how are we going to keep the culture whilst we scale? And we always talk about culture's not static anywhere, whatever lens you look through at whatever scale. It's evolving. I feel it's always about, are we creating the best possible culture? So it will evolve over time, but is it a really good culture that people want to be part of? And I think, like on many things, it's about being really deliberate about that. So it's about understanding what that culture is. So if you span back 5 years, 80 people kind of all knew what the culture was. They didn't need it written down. They could see it, feel it, participate in it, and learn it that way. We knew that as we were going to go through a journey of growth, you'd have to start codifying, if you like, more of that. So we went through a process of almost distilling our behaviours that were observable in the company and felt in the company, and turning that into a set of values. So we sort of consulted on ourselves, and we had a great team of Opencast people who pulled that together. And we're kind of built layer upon layer, if you like, from that. What are the behavioural expectations, core skills that people need, the competency framework. So there's a huge amount of work that has gone on to develop a really robust, people function. But if you think with then culture threaded through that, that will continue to be the challenge. Is, where does that go next? How do we evolve, respond to both the market demand for our services and what might that do to culture, but equally, where are people's demands going? How does, we'll be into whatever the next sort of generation coming through is, and their expectation of what work looks like, and how they want to interact in that world. So we've got again, that's an ongoing. It can't be static because people aren't static. People,
society changes.
Society changes.
law
Expectations change. If you go back pre-COVID, all of our, and this was fairly common in the tech consulting industry, all of our people were on client site 5 days a week. In COVID, everyone was 5 days a week in their bedroom, and then since COVID, we operate in a very hybrid world. But it's very different for different people. Some people want to be in and seeing people a lot. Some people still want to be in their bedroom. And again, that changes over time. Even since Christmas, our office is really busy again this year. And there's no mandates to come in. That's not the way we're working. But you can see it. Like, expectations and needs change at different times. And we just try to be really responsive to all of that, understand it, incorporate what the right things into the business. So culture and keeping that on track.
Interesting point you made there, that my role's business development award. How do we? So you talked about the fact that you consulted on yourself, and
Yes.
that's led to success. Is that something you ever use when you're pitching to clients? The fact that you've done that yourselves and had success.
We have referenced various aspects actually of what let's call it some more of those internal mechanics of how the business works and how we've set it up. That it does come out. Even in some of the public sector procurements, they want to know how you are being run at the back end. So that story, whether it's the people story, the kind of cultural fit story, and crucially the social impact story, those are marked aspects of how you secure work in some of these large scale contracts that we have. So yeah, we do share it in that context. Some clients we have spoken to more directly about how we've done that, and we've done maybe some small scale work in that regard.
You've had some great success in awards for a lot of what you've done on culture as well. So that must help as well when you're speaking to these businesses and going out to tender, because there's that clear recognition of how good an employee you are, and that the
it is part of the key value proposition that the business has. And sometimes I think when we were smaller, that was part of the story, but it was perhaps harder to convince people. They had to very much experience it first as a client in order to then feel that value and then go, right, I want more of that. Can you come and do a different project and help us with something else? It's perhaps easier now to evidence that over time, and that is what you can expect. But I still think the best way of people understanding it is starting to work with us, even at a small scale, seeing and feeling that it is different. And then from there, it's proof points, and we can then grow and help them with more things. So we really do try and make it true. We don't want a big gap between what we're saying and what we're doing. And when we do have that, and by the way, I recognise that at times on various issues we will have that, but we try and catch that and do something about it. And I think that's a really important part of our story. We are not perfect. I'm far from perfect as a leader. We've all got to learn, develop, grow, but you then apply that to the business and recognising that not everything's perfect, and what's the next iteration of what good and better can look like.
We've worked together in various different areas for quite a number of years across this journey. Just interested how you feel like we as a firm, as a large legal firm, have helped you along that growth.
We do not, as individuals, have all the answers and all of the knowledge and the experience. And as you go on, I've learned very rapidly, as you go on this journey, you need people around you who've got more experience and or professional capability to do certain things. So, given the emphasis we have on people, and that's probably been one of the biggest facets of the Opencast Ward Hadaway relationship, has been the support on people. There has been commercial support too, but the people side of it, that has been really important, so that we understand the laws and relevant employment law and how we apply that, and support when things go wrong. We've got some things wrong, and then we have employees who've got some things wrong, and navigating that successfully and having the support has been really beneficial. So I'll give you some credit.
Thank you.
It's been good, and it's it's a relationship we have had for a number of years, and we continue to have, because it provides us with that backup.
And just following that on in terms of a learning point for the businesses, yeah, how important is it to have the right, not just legal partners, but other business partners when you're going along a growth journey
I think it's really, really important. We've tried across a whole range of dimensions. So whether it's professional services types, legal support, tax support, we've tried to make sure we've found partners that that are culturally aligned. So are we going to understand each other? So as well as the materiality of what we do, the how is really important, so that bleeds into the outcomes that are delivered by that. We've extended that into people we work with on leadership development. We've worked with Julia Smith and her organisation, who do both leadership stuff for us. They do joiner surveys, leaver surveys, and they've come on the journey with us over a long period of time. Yeah, we really like building partnerships with organisations that persist for a long time, because again, you know each other, and they can really enhance the overall sort of the quality of the outcomes and the experience of doing that. So yeah, I'd really encourage everyone to get the right professional support. It's okay to sort of accept and know that you don't know everything, and there are people better placed to help you get that right.
I think that's really important, because what I've noticed both with you and with other clients, that if the longer you work together, and I understand your journey and what you're trying to do, so then when you're saying, well, how would you approach this, I'm looking at it from what I know you're trying to achieve and what your culture is and how you want to treat people. It does make a difference.
Correct, yeah, and exactly on that people front, it's so important, because different organisations will, perhaps use the law to their advantage in different ways, and we have particular ways in which we want to do things, and we want to try to do things, and so I think it is really important to build that cultural understanding, and go on that journey together.
So in terms of sort of, whilst you've been at the helm of this, extraordinary growth and huge success, like, what have been the sort of most rewarding or memorable moments for you as you've gone through that? And that can be sort of business related or personal, or just, what's really stood out for you?
I'm going to be really cheeky. There's a lot of sort of things I would cite here, but it's, firstly, this is a team sport. So, I'm here representing Opencast and obviously talking about some of my experience, but the best moments are the ones where, what we achieve is achieved together. And I say it all the time, a bid win. That's not one person. There are no individual heroes that make us win that. It is a huge effort across the business. We've touched on it. Your people story's got to be right, your culture story, your impact story, your technical story. All of that has to come together for us to win work. And then into the delivery, similar thing. It's the organisation has to come together. So I think the highs and the big achievements, the really exciting bit for me is that it's the shared endeavour that has gone into that, and how that system has come together to deliver that, I think, is really exciting. And so there've been some really great moments of that, and we try to bring the team together at least a couple of times a year. We have a summer music festival and company conference called Castonbury, which is a key fixture in the calendar. We didn't do it last year because of how difficult the market had been, but we'll be back to that this year. And when you see the sort of rich mixture of people that we have who've all contributed to that, I think that is always, that is one moment where I sort of stand back and go, wow, we have built something amazing here together, and that's really exciting. On a much more personal level, I got the opportunity as part of this to go to Harvard Business School. Was backed by the company. Again, that was a team effort. That wasn't me. The company backed me. Fantastic. My team then covered for me while I disappeared off to Boston for 2 months. My family supported me, and that, gave me an opportunity to go and learn, work with, 200 business leaders from across the world, and kind of re-engage with learning at a really deep level for a period of time. And I hope that acted as it's a sort of statement really as well of, that's the important thing. Like, I'm as chief exec, I still need to learn and develop. So everyone in the business should be thinking about how they need to learn and develop and grow, and we want to support that. And there's lots of different ways that we try and do that. So that was a big highlight for me. I feel very, very, very privileged to have had that opportunity to go and do that. But again, it was kind of testament to team and team ethos that put me in a position to be able to go and do that. So very grateful for that.
I've never been in the position where I've been a chief exec for an organisation, but from a distance, it looks like you're supposed to know all the answers, and it looks like it can be quite a lonely place. So I guess having that time to go off and refine and retune what you know as a person doing that, I guess there's not many people get that opportunity.
No,
whilst the business is growing at that
to
rate.
learn from others.
Agreed. Yeah, exactly. A big part of the learning, there was the taught learning, but then there was the learning that we did talking to each other and sharing experiences. So I'd heard this saying about it being a lonely position, and it is. It's a complex set of emotions I think you do go through as a chief exec. It's an extremely privileged position, and I feel that every day. I'm lucky to have the job that I have, because it's a chance to do things that are perhaps never, growing up, I didn't have in my head that I would be a chief exec. But the chance to do that and to do what we've talked about here is honestly one of the greatest privileges of my life. But it has incredible highs and incredible lows. There are times where you realise you are somewhat alone. If you've got people above looking to you, and to what you're going to do about things. You've got people below in the organisation, your peers that you work with, the clients, the partners, and learning to process all of that and thrive in that environment has been probably one of the biggest bits of the learning journey. And again, that's another area where getting external support is the best possible thing. So I participate in a peer-to-peer networking group of fellow MDs and CEOs. I jokingly call that my CEO therapy group, and it really is. We share challenges in a very open way and process those and think about how to move those forward, and that's incredibly valuable. I've got a coach that I work with to help me develop further. That's great. I've got mentors that I've different people who I've worked with across my career who I still turn to for advice and input. And I think you've got to build that support network around you. And then, my team are part of that support network, the board are part of that support network. But you've got to dip into those different things at different times, because sometimes you may be doing things which, can feel quite lonely, and decisions that have to be made where you are on your own a little bit, at least for a period, until you can mobilise things around you. That is one of the most sort of interesting facets I think about the role, is how to create that support around you to deal with those moments where it can be quite lonely.
I think that's really great that you've made that comment about the fact that you have that peer-to-peer support and you have a coach, because I think people just think they've got it all together. They know what they're doing. Like,
I'd love to find the chief exec who has. I mean,
portraying that, and sometimes people think they've got to be that without realizing. Everybody still needs.
Honestly,
support.
I think that was one of the biggest learnings from the Harvard experience. Actually, was realizing. I jokingly said when I was there, I was a baby CEO compared to some of the people who were there. People who were running multi-billion-dollar firms globally. And what I quickly appreciated was, they had the same challenges, the same insecurities, the same hopes, fears, and you realised actually the scale's different, but the challenges aren't actually very different. And so back to the earlier point about the shared learning came from the fact that, we might be in different industries at very different scales, but actually at the nub of it, you were talking about similar challenges, which are invariably actually people and how, whether it's yourself and the challenges of your own development and your own strengths, weaknesses, or the challenges of others, and how you bring all of that together.
Last year, Opencast ranked 3rd in our fastest 50. For people who are maybe listening or watching who aren't familiar with what the fastest 50 is, it's not an awards ceremony. It's not something where people can apply to be in. Our team looks at 3 years of company's house data, and it's based on real fact. So I guess that probably adds to the question, like, what did that mean to you to rank third amongst, all of the businesses that are based in the Northeast in terms of your growth?
Yeah, it's a real source of pride for the business. I think I said earlier, when you were talking, you asked me about the kind of highlights, and again, it's that recognition of the endeavour of the team, and to then be placed there, and to be visible, I think, in that sense, and to show that you can build really successful businesses headquartered in the region, in the north, broadly, and then for us specifically in the northeast, and I think it is a driving force for Mike's now left the business, but for Charlie, for myself, for the exec team, the board. And I think for a number of us, there's a certain passion and drive to prove that you can build something of national significance headquartered here. Is just another way of shining a light on that. So we like it. We like winning things, and
shows you're doing the right things. And you've been on there quite a few times as well.
It's been, again, on the journey, these things have been fun. We've picked up, we got the fastest growing large company at the Northern Tech Awards, so more narrowly focused on the tech sector. That felt like a big moment, because the first couple of years when we turned up to that awards, we were, ranking much lower, and you could see it was, again, that external validation and recognition of the progress. This is for the team, and it's a recognition of their effort to put us there.
So trying to bring together some of the things we've talked about, because we've covered quite a lot in terms of the things you've done and challenges. A lot of our listeners are SME leaders or founders. So what are the key bits of advice you would give to someone looking to scale their business?
I think get the right team around you. I didn't obviously found Opencast, but the founders recognised that they needed more beyond themselves in order to do that, and that was they've added over time fantastic people into the business. I've joined, other people have joined and come on that journey. You've got to get the right people, I think, around you. And I think I definitely see that a lot with other firms where founders recognise that they don't necessarily have all of again, it's back to that, no one has all of the answers, the skills, the capabilities on their own. So build that amazing team around you that will then propel you to that success. Build the sort of the support networks, personally, professionally, that can really help the business thrive. And then I think, get that clarity on, who you are, what you're about, and really focus on executing that. I think where we've succeeded best is where we've had, if you like, the narrowest and more focused execution. I think it's very easy then to start thinking, right, we'll take on more, do this, do that. And actually, I think we've gone through a process over the last couple of years, through some tougher market conditions, of again refocusing on what is that core proposition and who are we and how we're going to go about doing that. And I think that will propel us on to further success in the future. Be really clear on, build a great team, be clear on where you're going, and go and really, relentlessly execute on that.
I think there's a whole other podcast in there and a clear vision, but that's a really important point, isn't it? Like, know where you're really trying to go.
Know where you really, and it is hard, because it is easy for everyone to get distracted by other shiny things. And I'm no exception to that. And we've all got to keep bringing ourselves back to the core, the core purpose, the core mission, the core vision of the business.
But that's where you need a good team who are prepared to call you out, and that's it. Tom, really, should we be getting distracted over there?
And it happens at all layers. You've got a board that can happen, in an exec team, in a wider senior leadership group. You need those checks and balances, and you need people to be able to do that. So that sort of psychological safety to push that and challenge it. And look, some tension is good. Some tension, some conflict, the differences in opinion are important. And then you've got to get aligned, and you've got to crack on and deliver it.
You said for the other people who are maybe scaling their businesses, one of the things that's really important is the vision and where you're going next. So what is the vision for Opencast, and where are you going next?
I'm going to bring it back to actually purpose for us. So our purpose as an organisation is making life better through the power of people and technology. Are we making things better for the world. If you go really really broad, but certainly the UK and the society we exist in, and we'll do that through people and getting that right, and using technology to do that, making sure that we stay consistent to that. And we talked about the sort of people, purpose and profit, the economics of the business, making sure that that all stays sound is at the heart of it. I mean, our ambition is to continue to scale. People do sometimes ask, why do we need to continue to grow? And I think you've got to be pushing on as a business. It's really difficult to actually just stand still. And so
backwards, don't you?
you go back. I think you go
have
back.
a vision to stay where we
Yeah,
are. It's
we
quite
have
hard to make.
And also because growth, it's not just about, that's not just about the money. That is a byproduct of the growth. But if we're growing, we can have more impact in what we do. We can offer people better opportunities. A growing organisation allows the people within it to grow. The market that we exist in, there are some big global firms. There's some large global and or national firms, and at the moment, we're one of a small number in that you might call the sort of mid-market, where we've got some space to sort of operate and I think stand out. So, but we were an SME. We've long since kind of now busted out of that territory, and I think let's see how far we can take this. There's lots of good examples of firms who've gone on that journey, and we believe we can do that in our way. Even maybe like the processes, the way we do things will change, but that anchoring of the kind of people, the purpose of the organisation, if we're able to be agile and respond to that, there's a really positive future that for the business and for it to continue to grow, to evolve, and to hold true to those ideals.
I'm really, really interested in what you said around like purpose and people and tech fitting together. How does AI fit into all of that?
It's something that, the world, I would say, is wrestling with. The tech sector, likewise. It will change the way we do things significantly. So, the sort of the productivity, if you like, and our ability to do things will be augmented as a minimum by AI. I think for us, our sort of hypothesis, and you'll see this is true of, I think, a lot of other tech firms, there are things that we will be doing with AI and on ourselves. There are things that we will be helping our clients with, and everyone to a degree is still learning about what the extent of that is going to be. We still see there is a lot to do in terms of helping organisations adopt technology, transform their technology. So AI interleaves throughout that story, but I think at this stage for us it doesn't prevent the need for an organisation like ours who can help other organisations navigate their challenges and do the things with technology that are going to help them serve their customers, their citizens, etc. So we're very much in that adoption stage ourselves. We help other organisations do things with it already. In a number of cases, it's a hugely transformative technology for businesses, for society. It's going to be a hell of a ride, I think, over the next few years of seeing where that goes.
Okay, well, as we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to summarise in terms of what you've learned today and what you've heard?
I think for me, and I've been working with Opencast from when it was a handful of people, with Mike and Charlie. I think it's the journey you've been on, and with the people focus. I think that's what has sort of set you apart, and I think that's really come out today in terms of that focus on culture, but the focus on people and purpose, and that's why people want to work with you. That's why they stay working with you. That's why when you need to find another 100 people, which you've had to at times, you found them because clearly you've created that reputation. I think,
I would echo that, and we're doing a number of these podcasts with businesses that have been in the Fastest 50, and there's a common theme throughout that the driving thing isn't we'll get to a certain turnover or we're going to get to this point and we're going to exit, and they don't seem to be the motivating factors. It's the purpose, the people, the culture, getting them right, and the other bits just seem to follow. And obviously there's plans and strategy behind all of it, but it's just interesting to hear that commonality across the businesses. But I think the thing that stood out for me today is the openness and authenticity that you've brought to it in terms of that, I don't know all the answers. I'm going to go off and find it out, and I trust my team to go and to do that. So I think that really stands out for me, and I've certainly really, really enjoyed listening to the journey, both in terms of the Opencast side of things, but our involvement in it and what you've contributed to it. So that's been great. So just as we'll wrap up, if people want to know a bit more about Opencast or they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for people to do that?
I'm big user of LinkedIn, so yeah, please, if you'd like to connect, I'm always interested to hear from people and sort of build that network and build that support support system, etc. So yeah, be keen to connect there. Yeah, we're on the web, etc. You can find out more about us there. But yeah, please, talk to some of our people as well.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Tom. I've really enjoyed that.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Tom.
thank you both.